Let me grab my Walkman. This is Rudy and the Beast, a podcast in 2 parts. I'm Matt Molinaro.
And I'm Ed Burke. In the first episode, we discussed an original piece of media, and in the second episode, we discussed the reboot.
That's right.
And this is the reboot of Psycho from 1998.
You bet your bottom dollar.
Oh my God. I'm so glad that you picked that line because that murdered me during the movie.
I couldn't even believe that it happened based on everything else I had seen, especially.
I literally had to go back and rewind it because I was so shocked. And then I was like, nope, I definitely heard that right.
I mean, we'll get into that character in general, but it was just...
It was a lot.
For someone who was so dogmatic to the script.
Yes.
What a choice.
Yes.
What choices were made when we weren't?
Oh, man.
Wowie. Wowie zowie.
Wowie zowie.
I couldn't wait. And after last episode, I remember you didn't even know who was in the cast.
Yeah, I didn't know until I pressed play.
I couldn't wait. I just couldn't wait for your face of astonishment when you saw, A, how star-studded the cast was overall.
Oh my God, seriously.
But B, when you saw who was playing the lead.
Marion.
The lead too, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'll since anybody else who probably is aware of this already knows, the main characters in this movie, Marion is played by Anne Heche, which, whoa.
Blast from the past.
Major blast from the past. Vince Vaughn plays Norman Bates. A big old choice.
Real decision.
Yes. Viggo Mortensen plays Sam Loomis.
Mm-hmm.
Julianne Moore plays the sister Lila. Mm-hmm. And I think the other big name that I recognized... Oh, actually two. The other big name that I recognized was William H. Macy as Detective Arbogast.
Mm-hmm.
And then... Finally, the cop who has that roadside experience with Anne Heche is I didn't write down the right actor's name, but he played Richard on Sex and the City.
Oh, James Remar was his name, or Remar.
Yeah.
Did you not recognize Rita Wilson?
Oh, wait. Ooh.
Randomly?
Who was she?
She was the secretary that worked with Anne Heche.
Oh my God. I totally didn't recognize her.
I was like, when I saw Rita Wilson's name in the opening credits that went on for an hour, I was like, oh, Rita Wilson, who's she going to be? And I thought I just assumed she was going to be
Lila,
the sister.
Yeah.
And then when I saw her as the, but then I was like, who the hell is Julianne Moore going to be?
Yeah. And
when I thought of Julianne Moore as Lila Crane, when I saw she was in it, I was like, okay, she's not the main character, so she's got to be the sister. I didn't know she was going to look like or act like.
And you certainly didn't expect the Wish version of Shirley Manson from Garbage's Stupid Girl music video? You didn't expect
honestly,
Claire Danes' best friend from My So-Called Life?
Shut up, Rain. I cannot wait to get to I cannot wait. I had clearly not seen it either. So neither of us, this was a first for both of us. I remember when it came out, and I personally really dislike Vince Vaughn as an actor.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Probably to a more extreme level than I should, to be honest. If I had to pick my least favorite actor, if you asked me before this is not because of this movie, just reinforced, I would have absolutely immediately, without hesitation, said Vince Vaughn. I just find him to be so unlikable in every role he is in. I mean, basically,
I think that's fair. I have actors that I feel like that with. I feel that way about Ben Stiller.
Okay.
I often feel that way about the guy from Elf and the Bewitched. Will Ferrell. Yeah, Ben Stiller, Will Ferrell. A lot. They all
have a category.
Yeah,
they're all a category of that kind of bro comedy.
Yeah.
Market. You know.
Yeah.
But him specifically, he gets this sort of acclaim as this great actor at times, and it bothers me. And I feel like he doesn't act; he just plays himself. He just walks around on set and just talks through the lines. I don't think he actually is doing any
work,
hard work. I think he's just I can just get by. I'm just gonna Vince Vaughn this. Well, and boy, howdy, the choices that were made.
Let's just say that this movie, I don't think he's playing himself. He's making some big bold choices in this movie.
if I gave you 10 guesses before we saw this, would Vince Vaughn have made the list?
Absolutely not. Not in a million years.
Yeah, I don't think at 25 guesses he would have made the list.
No.
So yeah, I was ready for this 1998 remake, and all I knew going into it is that I personally had heard that it was not well liked, and that it was like very, very true to the original, and that was basically the biggest criticism of it. But
interesting. Yeah, I didn't really know much of anything about it. I didn't even know that it existed, frankly, until we started this podcast. And when I pressed play, I certainly did not expect that it was a shot-for-shot remake of Hitchcock's, because that in itself is a very big decision to make.
Right. Like, we've talked about this before on this podcast. We're all about reboots. So the whole idea for me of a reboot is to see what someone else is going to do with it.
Right.
And see what a different group of people are going to do with it and whatnot. And
yeah.
If you're going to do some sort of honorary way of rebooting something, like you really want to stay true to the original and all that, then you should be elevating the parts of it that were impossible when it was made and creating what the person's original vision was and taking it to a new place or something, you know?
Exactly.
We'll get into it. But for me, this was like, ooh, what was the point?
Yeah. So I think my plan is, since it's literally, without exception, the exact same plot, I think we can kind of just go from scene to scene and talk about the weird things that stood out in the different scenes.
Yeah, because we'll talk about the scenes and we'll be like, remember this from last time?
Right.
Here's how it went this time.
Yeah.
And, wow.
I was really disappointed when it opened. Well, first of all, let's talk about it. The opening sequence is
wait, do you want the summary before we get into the
Go ahead.
The thing? Because I didn't think we were going to get into it either, and I don't think you did either, but we're just going to get into it, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So, the summary on IMDb. In Gus Van Sant's remake of Alfred Hitchcock's classic, young female bank employee Marion Crane steals money from her boss in Phoenix, flees town, and arrives at Fairvale, California's rundown Bates Motel, which has secrets of its own. That's a run-on sentence if I ever heard one.
Yeah, I was going to say there was like no breath in there.
Can we breathe? I was exactly. Leave me breathless, the chorus. Remember the chorus?
Oh, of course I do.
I can't. Okay, so...
the opening sequence is identical, like literally the same lines, the same music. Of course, it's like a different composer or different band or whatever, but it's the same exact music.
I read that it was Danny Elfman who does great music.
He does.
Scores usually.
Yeah.
You know? I know they did bad with this, but it's the same thing.
It's the same. It's in color this time. And much to my disappointment, the movie was in color.
Yeah. I mean, if the choices that we're going to make, we're going to do everything exactly the same, but we're going to make it color.
Right.
You could have done it in black and white and showed what you could do with the cameras of today and all of that in black and white
I think,
today. And
here's my hot take. Either do it in black and white or do it in like almost jarringly bright levels of color, to like with Suspiria, where color is so fucking intense.
Paramount to the plot. Yeah. It feels like another character. Yeah. This was just like, I think it was going for gritty and real, but it was giving like camcorder.
This felt like a TV movie version of the original.
TV movie beyond.
Yeah.
After school special, the more you know.
Yeah.
One to grow on.
This is an ABC miniseries that showed over the course of a week.
Oh my God. Exactly. And that you fell off by the 4th episode and they were desperate to get you back by the end.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we open up with, instead of black and white, it's green. Congrats.
Yeah.
And then I would say the best part of the whole movie, which is the opening when you see Viggo Mortensen like almost naked in bed. So
seeing his butt is by far the best part of this entire movie.
Beyond. That was great. I was in. They knew what they were doing to get you in. So Viggo plays like Sam. He's Anne Heche's boyfriend.
Yeah.
Or Anne Heche, Marion Crane's boyfriend in this. So he's like naked in bed with her like in the opening scene. And literally you find out a couple things from this scene. Can I ask you? I don't think it's true. Davey confirmed this, but I have to ask.
Okay.
That's not his actual accent that he's using, Viggo Mortensen, right?
It is not, but I'm so fucking confused why he has like a straight up Texas accent in this movie.
Viggo Mortensen decided, or someone decided, he's a cowboy. Like,
yes,
a
legit.
real cowboy from the salsa commercials where they're disgusted by the New York City salsa.
Yes.
That's him.
Yes.
What is happening? Why? And he has a very thick, in my opinion, terrible Southern drawl.
Uh-huh. Yes.
Like a bad Paula Deen impression?
Yes. It's very distracting. I was like, it made no
needed
sense.
Captions. I needed captions. I could not understand him. I kept rewinding and we're like, we can't put the volume any higher because Anne Heche is going to blast through my ear because I cannot understand what he's saying.
Agreed.
But,
he was almost impossible to understand.
But nice to look at. So thank you, Viggo.
I have a couple of things I need to say about this scene.
I can't wait.
Number one, they zoom in on the hotel window. Like it's a skyscape that then they kind of like zoom in on the hotel window.
Oh, yes.
It is easily like a 15 to 20 story hotel building, which then on the inside is like a seedy motel where you can hear the people having sex in the room next door. Mm-hmm. Those two things don't go along with each other. 20-story hotel that's like a super seedy sex meetup motel.
It's a vibe difference for sure.
Yeah.
But I will say I liked the shot itself, like how it was like it felt like one long continuous shot from like really far away into the window, which felt like I don't know how they did that in 1998, but that's pretty cool.
Well, they wanted to achieve it. I read that they wanted to achieve it in Hitchcock's original, but the technology wasn't there to do it at the time. So this was like an actual achievement of his original vision for the film, apparently.
Yeah, I guess I'd have to go back and see what it looked like. But
so,
yeah, I thought that was cool looking, and I'll say that.
Item number 2. Viggo Mortensen has unexplained marks on his back.
Oh, yeah.
That look like scars or like really badly covered tattoos. And it was very distracting and it's never explained.
There must have been some reason why he wanted to be a cowboy in this movie. And I'm just going to go with he had a backstory that he created and crafted for this. And those are from a rodeo.
Okay, great. Problem
right
solved.
Before this, he had a rodeo. Or maybe it was implied that they had wild sex.
Ugh. Okay, item number 3. She says, broil a steak.
Oh, broil. That makes a lot more sense. I didn't even notice it because I was so jarred by the dialogue.
Yes.
I didn't even hear the broiled. That makes more sense. I would eat a broiled steak.
Yes. And so now I wonder if the original was also broiled, but for some reason we both heard boiled.
Well, or maybe he's like, this is an improvement I'll make.
He was like, nobody boils a steak in 1998.
Throw an R in there.
Okay. Item number 4. Anne Heche, she has to be so beautiful to pull off that fucking haircut.
Yes.
Because that haircut it legitimately looks like she got in a fight with a weed whacker and lost.
That is Anne Heche's hair. Like if you tell me Anne Heche, I think of no other version of her than this haircut.
Yes.
And her dating Ellen and being abducted by aliens.
Yes.
That's all I know of Anne Heche besides this movie. I don't even remember another movie she was in. No shade, Anne Heche. I'm sure you're great and all, but...
Well, you know she passed away.
No.
Yeah, she died in a really tragic car accident like 2 or 3 years ago.
Oh my gosh, that's terrible.
Yeah.
Oh, R.I.P. Anne Heche. I'm so sorry. But in this movie, that is not going to bear on me in this movie. I will say, it's not an issue, I think, of her acting.
Uh-huh.
It's the issue of choices that were made that I don't know whose choices they were. But do you have more items on this scene? Because I have some items on this scene.
Not on this scene, no.
This scene establishes that the two of them have no chemistry.
Sure, yes.
Viggo and Anne Heche. So you're already like, wow, that's weird. Because in the original, they had a lot of chemistry.
A lot of chemistry.
Yeah. To the point where you were like, wow, this is kind of weird that if this is 1960 or whatever. Yeah. And in this one, it was very not that. And they literally do the exact same dialogue, except for, of course, Sam is a cowboy. And the lines are dialogue from back then.
Yes.
But they're doing it in a current setting, like in 1998. That is clear. that is updated for sure. We're not meant to believe this is in the past. They don't make sense. No one speaks in this cadence anymore, even, let alone the words, but the cadence in which they speak makes no sense. And it almost feels like Anne Heche is often teetering between trying to speak like someone in 1998, but with the other dialogue, and then oftentimes trying to mimic the old cadence, which doesn't work either.
Totally. And it's extremely jarring throughout the movie because they made that choice of having everyone do the original dialogue, and some of those, like, just the turns of phrase and things like that just like did not exist at this point. It's like saying, oh, this movie was filmed today, but using 1970s words like groovy and, you know, it made it farcical almost, where it was like, it felt like a high school production of Psycho because they didn't realize how jarring that would be.
Exactly. It's not a small leap in decades. It was very strange. And the last thing I'll say about this scene is because it goes throughout the whole movie as well, is you realize that they're copying all the old camera techniques for the most part.
Yeah.
Which in black and white and in that setting with that music and everything all together felt correct and new and innovative and like had a noir sort of aspect to it.
Yeah.
But in this lighting and in this setting, it just feels unsettling, and not in a creepy way, in like a, oh, is this a mistake kind of way.
Yes.
Like, why are we so close up on this scene? What is the relevance of this? Why do I see the sweat on that person's lip?
Right.
So anyway,
okay,
that's how we start out until we get to the next scene with Rita Wilson on tranquilizers.
Okay, yeah. So the next scene is in the office, and my main notes about this are that it's a very boring scene. It's very long, and you know,
uncomfortable.
It's uncomfortable, and I still one of my main criticisms with the original movie was the setup of the character of Marion stealing this $40,000 in cash. Like, it just doesn't seem like there's enough internal struggle, motivation to make that choice make sense. And so, and especially even more so in this version for some reason. So it feels just both unnecessary and really long. Really long.
And it felt like the acting in this felt like little vignettes, like little scenes. It doesn't feel like, even this scene that goes on for so long feels like little scenes within a scene. They don't feel, there's no continuity in between people walking within one room to another. It just feels like little conversations that they practice. It doesn't feel natural at all. They throw in a line here. They change one line here where Rita Wilson's, I thought, is she still going to be on tranquilizers and offering them casually for a headache?
Yeah.
In 1998? Yes, but they just have her go beforehand. My husband thinks I'm crazy for taking these. And also, in the original, this, all I have to say about this scene, I agree with you completely. This is the whole scene where, you know, the weird guy comes in with the money. Oh, he has $400,000 instead of $40,000.
Yeah, they did update the money.
So that's good. He's still dying of a thirst to Rooney. We did not change that line. I actually found this version way more sexist and misogynistic than the original for some reason.
Agreed. And I think part of it is the way Anne Heche acted. Like, Anne Heche acted
devious.
She acted devious, but when the man is like kind of borderline sexually harassing her and like calling her sweetheart and stuff like that, like, you can tell it's unsettling to her in the acting choice. Whereas in the 60s version, it was like, I think that was just sort of like how it was expected people talked to women in the office in the 60s. Like,
right.
But yeah, it felt super gross.
It felt gross, and it felt like, in what you said, there's no motivation for her taking the money. In this version, maybe they do it in the original, but in this one, it's way more overt to me. They rely on the audience believing that women are just money-hungry people.
Yeah.
And they rely on this like terrible trope of women being devious and stealing money and not being able to handle it, because not only do they have no motivation for her stealing the money other than what you said, they have her sort of looking at the money and like in a drooling kind of a way in this movie. Like,
yeah,
she's lustful over it. And Rita Wilson beforehand, when she sees the money, before even thinking about it, she's fanning it. And she's like, ooh, look at all this money, what I would do with this, which is not in the original, I don't remember either.
I don't think so, yeah.
So I felt like, oh, they're really leaning in on this. And it's 1998.
Yeah.
Great.
So she goes home and packs and, does the whole like eyeballing the money thing while she's packing. Something I read
Still in a big envelope.
Still in a big envelope. Something I read about in the trivia for this movie that I think also explains why it is so fucking weird to watch is the costumer was originally told that this was going to be a period piece. And so that's why like some of the clothing that like Anne Heche is wearing legitimately looks like it's from like 1960, even though it's 1998.
My next note, that is interesting. My next note is, wow, she really has a lot of ugly outfits and earrings.
Yes.
A lot. And I talk about the fashion throughout this. And now that you said 1960s, wow, there's a scene that makes a lot more sense for the what I noticed.
Yes.
But that makes sense why Anne Heche's earrings throughout the movie look like Willy Wonka creations.
But apparently, so they started acquiring all the costumes for a period piece, but then they were like, oh no, it's not a period piece. But they just kept some of that in and, finished the rest of the costumes as like modern day. So
quite a bit.
You've got some people dressed for, brunch in 1960 and then some people dressed in 1998.
Oh yeah, you have some people in a hotel movie in the middle of nowhere, and some people at Boogie Nights. Okay. Wow.
Okay. Anything to say before we get to the episode or the scene with the cop?
I wrote. So I wrote that we get to the scene with the cop, and they do the same extreme close-ups and everything, and the sweat all over the cop's lip while he's in her window is extremely distracting.
Yes. I need to point out that I think his uniform was purchased when the costumer still thought it was a period piece because cops do not wear hats like that anymore.
Oh, no.
But even back in 1998.
Oh, it was giving porn cop for
Very
sure.
that. I also have to say, I know you just said like no disrespect to Anne Heche's acting. I'm gonna disagree with you. I think she was really bad in this movie, and the way I would describe it is, when you're watching somebody dance and it's a choreographed dance, and you can see on their face that they're thinking about the next thing that they have to do. That's what her acting felt like the whole time.
Yeah. Now that it did feel very studenty.
Yes.
My critique of her acting would have been, it's just a really strange choice that she made for this character throughout the whole movie that she seemed committed to. But I also maybe feel like she's got the Vince Vaughn thing. Maybe it's just like she just gives a choice, and she just makes whatever choices she feels like in the moment, and they don't really tie together because it is a little bit manic of a performance.
Yeah, it's bad.
Like the scene we're just talking about, where she pulls over by the cop. In the original, it's very uncomfortable. That it's very tense. What's happening and why is he lingering and what's going to happen after this. And she stands up for herself and she's like, I've got to go. But it feels very like natural.
Yeah.
In this one, every time Anne Heche has like something opposing to say, they make her so like nasty.
Mm-hmm.
They make her so like, I'm gonna go, and like she speeds off and she slams on she makes herself way more
cartoonish,
conspicuous in this one than even in the first one.
Well, speaking of conspicuous, when she gets to the car dealership, she straight up pulls out a parasol, a bright orange parasol. And I was like, girl, you're on the run and a cop is following you and you're like, hey, look at me.
I was like, okay, Princess Peach, what are you doing? A parasol.
Yes.
And the glasses.
Yes.
The sunglasses. Randomly in the middle of her car ride, sunglasses appeared on her face.
Yeah.
And I was just like, Sally Jesse Raphael, if they were red, they would be right on her face.
Well, and then we've got the car dealership guy wearing a shirt made out of the upholstery from like the Taco Bell fabric from 1992.
Yes. It was definitely right from the floor of a roller rink.
Yes.
It was. I was like, who is that? My note is, who is this guy? What is that shirt? What is that hair?
Another thing that I have to point out is the car that she ends up buying has a sticker on it that says extra clean. What does that mean? Why are they not all the same level of clean?
Why is this scene so bizarre? Why does this guy have this strange accent
Yeah.
as well? This car dealership guy. And then he sells her the thing, $4,000 in cash this time. I think that's probably inflated as well. So
Yeah.
cool. But they do the same weird thing with the cop across the street. No change.
Nothing.
But she's even more conspicuous here. And okay. Do you have anything else to say about that scene?
No, I think we can get to her getting to the Bates Motel.
I want to say one thing about the driving scene, which
Okay.
lasts for about 45 minutes, it feels like, in this one.
Actually, I do have something to say about the driving, too. Go ahead.
So I know this has the same runtime as the original, save for like a minute or so. I know they did shot for shot. I know the driving scene felt long in the first one, but it did not feel unusually long like this one.
Yeah.
And so boring. And I have to say, I don't know what is involved in like pantomiming or acting like you're driving to make it realistic, but Anne Heche is not doing that. She is the worst drive actor I have ever seen in my life. The shots of her in the car, if I didn't see a setting of a car around her, I think she was sitting in a movie theater seat eating a bag of popcorn, or a passenger in the back of a limo. Worst drive acting I've ever seen, and it goes on for so long.
I think the other thing I would say about the driving scene is, in the original movie, when she's on the highway, it's only the cop car that she can see behind her. The road is completely empty otherwise, which I think really amplifies the tension. In this one, there's like a bunch of other cars around. And so it just feels...
like a truck.
Yeah, it just feels much less threatening than the original.
And it looked terrible. For 1998, the scenes outside the window looked like the kind of scenes they do on like SNL when they're doing like a cutout of a background. It looked like they could have just like literally cut it out and had a panoramic view that they were pulling past it. It was terrible.
Yeah. So when she gets to the Bates Motel, I just want to point out that the acting choice that she made is like she has never seen or heard of a motel before, because she's like studying it as though it's something completely unfamiliar to her.
Yes. She's Ariel. Look at the stuff.
Look at the stuff.
The motel looked good. The sign looked ugly, though.
It did. I know.
But
okay.
The motel looked cool.
Vince Vaughn. We meet Vince Vaughn.
Wow. And as he's running over, from the beginning, from the moment I see him running down, I just wrote, no.
Yeah.
And then he started talking.
Oh, God.
And then he did what
the
he
laugh.
continues to do through the whole... The laugh.
The laugh. His... Okay, I think Vince Vaughn decided that his character was gay. I think he decided to make Norman Bates gay in
maybe
offensive way.
Yeah.
And he moves like Bob from Schitt's Creek. He does like really weird running and weird arm stuff. There's a lot of arm movements that are strange in his acting choices. Yeah.
Wacky. The way he runs is like one of those inflatable things in front of a
car dealership.
Like a car wash. Yes.
Yeah.
It's weird. And I laughed every time he ran. I wasn't even trying. I just like laughed out loud. It was so bizarre. When you see a silhouette of him running in the background, I heard like the Tom and Jerry music.
Did you ever see the episode of Friends where Phoebe runs? She gets into running? That's exactly. For listeners, if you're not familiar with Schitt's Creek and Bob and his mannerisms, just go find a clip on YouTube of Phoebe learning to run on Friends.
Oh, you took me back.
Okay. I do have a question, though. Do you think he's handsome in this movie?
I don't, personally. I think his butt looks good in this movie.
There is a good butt shot in this movie of him.
Yeah, his butt looked great in this movie. I gave it away for that butt. I was like, okay, this is great. Other than that, I think it's maybe one of the better looking movies he's been in. I just don't find him physically attractive, personally.
Yeah, okay.
But better looking. Wasn't he in that movie, Swingers, maybe? Was that it?
I never saw that, so I don't know.
Maybe he was Skeeter in that. But yeah, no. What was he doing it for you?
I mean, I think this is, obviously it's younger Vince Vaughn than today. I really don't know his career at all. The types of movies he tends to be in are not the types of movies that appeal to me. But I kind of like connect him more with that time period of, I think, like Wedding Crashers and stuff. And
Same.
maybe he was Was he in the breakup with Jennifer Aniston?
Oh, maybe. I haven't seen any of... She's been in so many movies that are the same.
Okay. I think it was him in that movie with her, and so I kind of like maybe picture him around that time. I think he was kind of cute around this time period, but not...
If he didn't speak, it maybe would have helped. There was a lot of... And he bites his lip randomly.
Ugh.
Did you notice that?
Everything he did was wrong. I
wrote that right now he is the wrong kind of creepy. Like,
yes.
Norman Bates in the original was charming and
yes.
like sort of sympathetic, and he had sort of like sad eyes and a kind manner about him at first, which was the creepy part about it, because you could feel a mysterious sort of darkness underneath.
You didn't know why. You felt unsettled with the original Norman Bates, but you didn't know why you should feel that way. Vince Vaughn plays this character like a child murdering pedophile.
Yes, he plays it like a sexual predator.
Yes.
100%. And it's really weird, and he constantly is like looking up and down every it's weird. It's weird. I just kept writing no. The lip biting.
What did you think of the fact that when they made him look through the peephole when she's getting changed, they made him jerk off?
Oh my God. I wrote why?
Yeah.
Why? Do you remember in the first one? In the first episode, I was like, I'm kind of glad they didn't have him masturbate. I thought that's where they were going with it.
Agreed.
I'm kind of glad that he could have been masturbating, but you don't really know. Like, he's just sort of like, there's a voyeuristic quality about it that's more the creepiness of it, that he's watching and why, and he's just sort of looking, and she's not even nude quite yet. It was that was the thing about it, you know? This one was like so on the nose, and also like they made it so specifically about one thing. They just nailed down this like weird sexual predator thing. And I don't need to see him masturbating to completion either. I really don't. Thank you.
I think the part that was effective about the original was like he clearly was getting some sort of something out of watching her, but you don't, again, as the audience, you're like not sure what, but it's unsettling because you don't know. In this one, he's just a pervert jerking off.
Yes, and it's so weird. And like, by this point, it's like, what, 40 minutes? No, it's like almost 30 minutes in. And I'm thinking, we've stuck to every single thing, and this is what we're adding in?
Agreed.
Of all things, him masturbating?
Yeah.
Ugh. That's probably what added the extra 40 seconds or whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, and then he doesn't clean up. And then he, this is when he, let's see.
I think the next thing is the shower murder scene. That's the next thing I have notes on.
Right. Before the shower murder scene, the scene of them eating together and having their dinner that happens before that.
Yeah.
Because she buys the newspaper and hides or whatever. One thing I'll say is I appreciated that when his mom is yelling at him in the house, it's quieter. Like, it's not just like the same level of volume as they speak. It's clearly being like heard from the house. And it was a little bit hard to hear because I think it was always strange to me that she just heard every word.
Well, it sounded like they were speaking into paper towel tubes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Exactly. The effect wasn't great, but at least there was an attempt. Yeah. But this is when Vince Vaughn starts eating in the movie, and he doesn't stop.
He does not stop.
And it's really unsettling. Like, the way he eats made me angry.
Yeah, Norman Bates did it in the original, but in this one, it looks like he is it's like he's eating bugs, like he's Renfield or something.
It took me out of every time he put his finger in his mouth, and I was like, stop it. Stop it. Me and Davey, and I didn't even say anything at first, and I was watching it with Davey, and Davey is like, why does he keep eating? And I was like, oh my God, thank you. What is he even eating? He would not stop putting his fingers in his mouth. And every time he popped one in whatever he was eating in his mouth, it was making me, I was like, stop it.
Yeah.
Stop it.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it was so distracting. I couldn't, so now we get to the murder scene, in the bath.
I have a couple of things to say about this, which are, number one, they did like a crystal effect shower curtain, which
I liked that.
Oh, did you? I feel like it made it less eerie to see like like you could see the door opening in the original, and this you could just see like kind of motion, and so I feel like it dulled the suspense a little bit.
Okay, yeah. I felt like it made it more obscure than
Okay.
like a standard shower curtain might, you know? Even one with like a little translucent. I felt like a translucent one would have been too heavy to see a real outline. I feel like a clear one would have been too clear.
Okay.
So I kind of liked that choice. That was probably one of the only choices about the scene I liked.
Yeah. Well, so he stabs her, she screams. For some reason, during all the stabbing scenes, Gus Van Sant decided to cut away to like surrealistic images of like thunderclouds and like eye dilating and stuff.
Yeah,
which
I was like, "What's happening?"
He does this, I think, twice or three times during the movie, for no reason. It adds absolutely nothing to the film.
So why these like the choices that were made? Choices were made to deviate.
Yes.
Why these?
Why
Weird.
those? Yeah.
Weird.
She, Anne Heche, as she's dying and, you know, rips the shower curtain off the wall, looks more bored than she does dead.
Yes.
And then we get a straight up shot of her butthole, which I did not need to see.
No, it felt like undignified. It felt like, oh, and there was more blood. The blood was still bad looking. Like, well, I mean, in the original, it was like iconic the way the blood was, you know?
Yeah.
In this one, the blood was just bad blood. It was like really bright red. The color was really off. It looked like fruit punch in the tub.
Yeah.
And there was more of it than,
Yeah.
not a ton, but there was more of it in strange ways. The cutting, you actually like see the cuts more in this one, but they're like CGI. Those are like CGI added in. It looked like they looked very digital. They moved weird on her body, like Mortal Kombat. And I'm certain that the way she acted was like the same as the first one with the hand out and everything. Like it
is. Yeah.
I'm sure it was, but people don't act. There's a difference in the way people act today. The way in which the set of standards and rules for acting and body movement and all of that is very different today than it was back then.
Mm-hmm.
That was so stylistic.
Yeah.
This is in 1998 with regular camera work in a regular old dumpy hotel.
Yeah.
With no lighting. It was so bored. It was perfect. And Norman Bates' wig.
Oh
Bye.
my God.
Goodbye.
Well,
go back to Party City where you belong.
The wig, the clarity of the wig that we get later. Okay, we'll get there. I don't want to jump ahead. I also have to say that in the original, I'm 99.9% sure that they, you know, do the close up on her eye and just zoom out and you see her, you know, on the floor dead. In this one, they zoomed in on the drain of the bathtub spinning, and then they did the close up of her eye and spun out as they zoomed out. Mm-hmm. And I do not think that was the original camera work. And it just felt like, why did you make this choice? Because like, it's about the sort of like somber horror of this woman having been murdered for no apparent reason. It didn't need that sort of like weird special effect-y type spinning thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
It just like...
In the original, it was like the simplicity of it and the starkness of it. It felt like much colder. And in this one, it felt like trying to be shocking in some way.
And surreal and like... I don't know.
And the angle of her body was unnatural for how she fell out of the tub in a way that was like just purposely to show the curve of her butt, I think.
Yeah.
It was very strange. It was weird. And that was one of the parts that we really liked from the first one.
Agreed. Anything to say about him cleaning up and realizing...
Oh, all I wrote for that scene was that just like last time, water is the wonder cleaner. We're still not adding soap. He's washing his hands of blood, rinsing it with water down the drain like nothing, and everything is cleaned with the magic water of this hotel. So
yeah,
we make choices to add in surreal images when she's being killed, digitally add in bloody things like that because I guess they want to make it more real, but we're going to have him wash everything up with just some warm water.
Yeah.
Weird.
So he dumps the car in the swamp just like last time. And then we get the scene of a few days later, or however much later, the sister coming into Sam Loomis's store. And it's Julianne Moore.
I cannot wait for this.
I swear to God, Matt, the minute she got out of the taxi wearing like headphones, sort of bordering on low-rise jeans, like a flannel, an A shirt, and the Walkman headphones.
The iconic yellow and gray Walkman headphones.
And I legitimately was like, this is my so-called life. What is going on here?
It was a Doritos commercial from the 90s. It was... I was like, am I watching... Did I change the channel? Am I watching a different movie?
Yeah.
Who is this? What time... And the haircut, it was so like I don't know what she was wearing. It was so my so-called life. Later on, it's Boogie Nights to the extreme. The hair is Shirley Manson.
Yes.
So my so-called life is so perfect. The way she walked into... This is the scene where she walks into Sam's shop and you know, I want to see my sister, whatever. Except for in the original, the actress... I love Julianne Moore.
Agreed. I love her.
I love Julianne Moore. Love her. This was really bizarre to see her. And I love William H. Macy.
Me too.
And wow. The three of these people in this scene, because it's William H. Macy pops in, remember. He's the private eye.
Dressed as Dick Tracy, but go on.
Oh, okay. I wrote that he's dressed like he's in the Cherry Poppin' Daddies.
Perfect. Even better.
Now the wardrobe things are making sense to me, and they don't even fit. He looks like a little kid in a big boy suit.
Well, and Julianne Moore, I think at this point she probably would have been like in her 30s, maybe, right? Mm-hmm. She is dressed like a 19-year-old in 1998. Yes. She could have been like on the set of Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Beyond. She's Cordelia. I don't know what she's doing. She's the bad girl. She's dressed like Tori from Saved by the Bell when they brought in the second gal after Kelly left. 100%.
One other thing I have to comment about this scene is, did you notice the shop boy, like the guy at the counter who has like 2 lines?
Yeah.
Did you recognize him?
No.
That was Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Oh my God.
I know. I was funny. Like, I know that face. Where do I know that face? Anyway.
I used to have a crush on him back in the day because he was always naked in the music videos, and I was like a little gay boy, like desperate for someone shirtless.
Yeah.
And can we talk about this? The way Julianne Moore walks into the scene, Viola Davis.
100%.
Clumps in. Actually, through the whole movie, she walks around like a buffalo. She came in with her Herman Munster shoes in every single scene.
She came in like a wrecking ball in every scene. She like her one. She stays at one level, and that level is "Mom, get out of my room." The entire movie.
I want to see my sister. She's the only one that yells. Randomly, she's screaming. I want to see. She's like a after-school special mom who is looking for her daughter who hasn't showed up for dinner, and she knows something has gone wrong because not my daughter.
Yeah, not my daughter.
It's very weird. It's very weird. And William H. Macy is doing this sort of like old-timey detective vibe.
Yeah. This is the scene to me where the anachronistic language stood out the most, because he's like, listen here, little lady, you know, Bob's your uncle, and I don't even know.
Give me the business, huh?
Yeah.
It was 3 different movies in one shot, because we have a cowboy doing dialogue from 1960.
The Cherry Poppin' Daddy.
The Cherry Poppin' Daddy's doing dialogue from the 1960s, having a Zoot Suit riot. And then we have the best friend Rain from My So-Called Life doing 1960s dialogue, but as a angsty teenager in the 90s screaming.
As a
3 movies, 1 shot.
30-year-old angsty teenager in a 1960s movie.
Oh my God. I didn't know what I was watching, but I couldn't wait for it to end, because the 3 of these characters screaming at each other in the shop and deciding what they're going to do was the most jarring thing I've ever seen. And I was like, Julianne Moore, I thought you were going to save this movie.
I did too.
Wow.
Okay, then we cut to back at the motel. Vince Vaughn is wearing a fitted turtleneck, looking like a big gay mime.
I wrote not the turtleneck.
The turtleneck sweater tucked into jeans.
I'm I also wrote stop eating, so he must have been popping things in his mouth the whole scene.
Yeah, they did do the shot under the jaw that I really liked from the first movie. Of course, the lighting wasn't as effective, especially because it was in color, but whatever.
Yeah, and he has a very different looking jaw than the original movie, so it felt like I was in a doctor's office trying to diagnose something under his chin.
Yeah.
And the diagnosis was bleak.
Yeah. I have a question. So, like, Arbogast, they have their thing. He catches him in a few lies. He makes the phone call to the sister, all that kind of stuff. And then he decides he's going to go scope out the house to talk to the mother. When William H. Macy is walking up to the house... Okay, first of all, let me just give you the sequence of events that I think were a little bit less distracting in the original. You see Norman carrying sheets from the hotel office to like room number 12 or something. William H. Macy pulls up and then looks in the office, says, Norman, sees nothing, and then immediately goes up to the house. At which point, Norman is now in the house dressed as Mother to kill him. So the timing just straight up did not work in this movie. Like, unless he can teleport, it didn't work.
None of it made sense.
But I don't remember that being an issue in the original.
In this movie.
Yeah. Okay.
Because nothing made sense. Because everything was illuminated that was not illuminated in the first one. That was dark. All the acting is strange.
Yes.
William H. Macy's still acting like he's in 1960, like in the original. Yes. But he's one of the only ones.
Yeah.
It's really bizarre. And also, Vince Vaughn's acting in this, when he is being questioned, in the original, I felt like he was, not great at hiding his lies, but he was like skittish, and there was sort of a progression of his like paranoia while he was there. In this one, there's none of that. It's just like he goes instantly from like eating random shit and trying to like act like he's not paying attention to angry and frustrated.
Yeah.
And like, you better get out of here.
Yeah.
Before I make you leave kind of thing.
Yeah.
You better come back with a warrant kind of attitude. It was very strange. Also, one of your favorite moments in the last movie was when he's having the conversation with her before he kills her, and when they're eating milk and sandwiches. Still milk and sandwiches, by the way, in this one.
I know.
And you have that switch that you talk about, that like very subtle switch. In this one, none.
Nothing. Subtlety. Yeah.
So yet again, he's proving in this scene, I was like, okay, this is really weird. And then let's talk about unless you have anything else, let's talk about Arbogast going into the house.
The only thing that was weird to me, and I don't care to make anyone go back and listen, but if you happen to watch this movie after this episode, I'm curious. When Arbogast is walking up to the house, I feel like you can hear Norman yelling Arbogast. Like I feel like you can hear someone yelling his name, but that still makes even less sense if he's already in the house dressed up as his mother.
Yeah.
So anyway, but
I don't remember.
Go ahead.
I will say one thing, continuity-wise, that made a little more sense to me in this one. I don't know if you caught this, or maybe I missed it in the first movie, or if it was added, but in the phone booth scene, when Arbogast is talking to them, he says, I even know what cabin she stayed in, cabin 1.
Yeah.
So that would explain why she knew which cabin to go into, and it wasn't just like a fluke. So I was like, oh, okay. That part made a little more sense from the first movie, because we were like, what, was she just going to go into every cabin, and she got lucky with the first one?
Yeah.
But yeah, so now we have him in the house, and he goes up the steps.
And he gets murdered by...
Gets murdered.
Mother.
In the first one, did his face get all cut up like that?
It did, yes.
I don't remember that, but in this one, it looked terrible.
Awful. And
him falling down the steps looked... Oh my God, I laughed out loud.
Yeah. Especially because it was interspersed with, again, surrealist shots of like a naked woman, a cow on the road. Yeah, it was like,
why?
What are we doing here?
What's the significance? What's the symbolism?
Nothing.
Weird. This is what we'll add. We'll add this stuff in. Oh my God. And then we see Vince Vaughn in Daydrag again. So
yes,
there was that. Now we're gonna get to one of the most important parts of the movie.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. We cut back to the other movie that we're watching. That random like 90s movie where the mom is looking for her angry teenager, but she's the angry teenager.
Where she's talking to a cowboy.
Yeah, she's talking to a cowboy. They're deciding like, what are we gonna do? Like in the old movie, and he's like, I'll do it, little lady, because I'm a cowboy and you're just a teenager stuck in a 30-year-old's body.
My horse is just saddled up outside, and I'm gonna ride out into the sunset, and I'll bring your sister back.
You're here. And she says, no, I'm coming with you. But before she walks out the door, she says, let me get my Walkman.
Okay. Two things. Number one, what the actual fuck were they thinking incorporating that line? Number two, it was 1998. It should have been a Discman at that point.
What? Right. Was there a sponsorship? This was giving me that scene in New York Housewives when Jill does the brand sponsorship with Kodak.
Yes.
And Ramona walks into it and says, "Why are you doing something with Kodak? I think they're kind of antiquated."
Yeah.
What is this? I was
It
like,
was weird.
did she get money for saying Walkman? Because I clocked the Walkman like you did as soon as she walked in the room because it was a very prime accessory, clearly.
Yes.
But I was like, wow. The director was like, you know what? I'm saying exactly to the original. We're not going to change a thing. We can't change anything because we are being so honorific. But you know what? Before we finish this movie, let me grab my Walkman.
Yeah.
That didn't meet the cutting room floor.
No.
Either. Final draft.
Can we cut to the scene with the sheriff and his wife?
Oh, yeah. Again, we're going to update it and include a Walkman, but we're not going to update it that we don't go to the sheriff's house in the middle of the night.
Right. The sheriff's wife, I forget her name, but she was in... she's kind of like an actress who's like in a million tiny little parts. She was in an absolutely atrocious episode of Charmed.
Oh, I could see it. What was she, some sort of high priestess witch thing?
Oh, no. Even better. She was sort of like it was a group of sad old ladies who had made a skin suit to bring a demon back to life to give them eternal life and youth.
Oh, this is vaguely familiar.
It was called How to Make a Quilt Out of Americans is the episode title, which I did
not
not even have to look up to tell you.
She was also probably in, I'm going to guess, 12 episodes of Law & Order.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
She was also in Liar Liar. And
oh, yeah.
This is Doubtfire, too, but definitely Liar Liar. I remember her totally in that one.
That
was the best part of the scene.
That's all I have to say about this scene.
Yeah, he makes a stupid call to the hotel, and Julianne Moore screams in his face. She's screaming through the whole movie. She's screaming, "I want my sister!" You ever see that like meme of Mel Gibson screaming, "Give me back my son" from Ransom?
No, I haven't.
It's like a meme from back in the day, and this is what it is. The whole time she's screaming.
But the next note that I have is that we get a shot of Vince Vaughn going up the stairs and his butt looks great.
Yes. The next note I have is Julianne Moore and Vince Vaughn are competing in the most heinous shirt in America contest.
Yes, while they are inexplicably winking at each other.
Winking at each other. This is the scene when they go to the hotel and they're pretending, the cowboy and the elder millennial
teenager
are pretending to be a couple and check in. And in the original, it's just them checking in and whatever. But in this one, Julianne Moore, because as I said, this is so sexist and misogynistic, this movie, she's using her feminine wilds to randomly wink at Vince Vaughn, who is winking back and doing the licking lip thing.
And again, like the whole thing about Norman Bates is he's like awkward and... Like if in the original movie, if they had winked at him, he wouldn't have known what to do with that. He wouldn't have winked saucily back.
No, he would have been uncomfortable.
Yes, it's.
He wouldn't have done that stupid laugh.
Can we talk about the fact that when they go to search the hotel room for clues, she has a flashlight in the middle of the day searching a well-lit hotel room?
That's because she's dressed like she is Harriet the Spy.
Yeah.
Can we also talking about clumping around in Herman Munster's shoes?
Oh,
the sound of her walking.
It was
to
so
the
loud.
Room is so loud, echoing through the desert around her.
They were like trying to sneak into this room to like inspect it, and she is full on like clomp, clomp, clomp. It was like an AT-AT from Star Wars walking along the hotel.
It might as well have been like a tap dancing performance all the way there.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So she goes up to the Bates house.
Oh, right.
And I don't know if you noticed this, but for some reason they decided to edit in the sounds of rattlesnakes.
Oh, I didn't notice it, but I did notice that she would randomly gasp at things that were not shocking.
No. Despite Vince Vaughn playing Norman Bates as like a gay character the entire time, the sexual tension that he and Sam had in the original movie is gone entirely. Instead, it's just very antagonistic.
Very, very weird.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Julianne Moore is searching the house. It's like a lot of like, you know, looking in the bedroom and all of that kind of stuff. There were weird sounds edited in, right? Like there were like bird call sounds. There were like sounds of breaking glass. It was...
Yes, there were a lot of bird sounds added in. And I think it's because, unlike the original, if I'm not mistaken, there was like a aviary in the basement.
That's right, yes.
So I think maybe that's what it was suggesting, that the birds were going wild in the basement.
Well, but then when she went in his bedroom, you hear like the sounds of like childhood laughter and stuff. So I think it was meant to be like like an auditory exposition of what she's experiencing. But it was like, it was a weird, again, surrealist choice that did not fit with the rest of the movie.
No, not even with the rest of the scene.
No.
And when she... In this movie, I don't know if this was in the original, but there's weapons on the wall.
Yeah.
Like a bow and arrow.
Yeah.
Is that in the original?
No.
And there's porn.
There's porn
in his room.
Which that just tells you I mean, that is such a like 90s like sex shamey thing of like, oh, he's clearly a degenerate because he has a porn magazine.
Yeah. Yes. And they make the room like a little boy's room.
Yes. Except for the photo of Vince Vaughn as an adult in the child's room where he has a big old falcon on each arm, like he's a Dungeons and Dragons poster.
Yes.
It was weird.
It was really strange. And also, is this the same? Did he take a golf club to Sam's face in the original?
No, and when the minute I saw that, I was like, he would be dead. If you got a full arm swing of a golf club to the front of your fucking face, you'd be dead.
Right to the temple, it looked like.
And
gone.
But in the next scene, not a mark on him.
Nothing.
No blood, nothing. Just like fine.
Where'd the golf club come from? And when did Norman Bates do this kind of thing, just like outward in front of everybody?
Right.
I thought that it was always his mom. So he hits him with the golf club. And then we see the scene of Julianne Moore coming upon his mom in the basement.
Yeah.
With birds all over the place.
Yeah.
The birds were a weird choice. I don't know why there's birds in the basement / fruit cellar, whatever, flopping around.
Yeah.
But the mom the corpse looked cool. It looked better.
The corpse looked better. I just need to point out a couple of things about this concluding scene. First of all, Vince Vaughn in that Party City fucking wig was... I legitimately started laughing. I was laughing so hard. There was nothing menacing or eerie about it. It was Butch Queen first time up in drag at the ball.
Oh, yes.
Terrible wig.
Oh, I was cracking up. I was like, wow, this is like Scarlet Envy's first foray into the... Not even.
And then... It was terrible. You know, Viggo Mortensen, despite having just taken a golf club to the face, he rescues her again. But this time, Julianne Moore kicks Norman in the face because it's the 90s and #feminism.
That's right. Girl power.
Oh, God.
Yeah, kicks him in the face. And the faces that Norman makes as he's being, like, taken down are so unsettling to watch. He's kind of like... He just looks like a claymation.
He looks like he's moaning, but no sound is coming out.
Yeah, exactly. It looks like he's like high on mushrooms. It doesn't make any sense. He makes the same face that the guy makes in the room when he's getting the blowjob.
Yes. God, I forgot about that. Okay. Then we get again. You decided to make changes to the movie, but you kept in the scene that brought the pacing to a screeching halt of the psychiatrist explaining everything.
Right. The scene that allegedly the original director didn't want in.
Right. And the fact that your remake, like, people know what Psycho is at this point. You didn't need to have this ham-fisted explanation. Like, they knew what they were going to see, but you still held the audience's hand like they were fucking drooling children.
Yes. Cornball to the max. God. And again, this whole explanation scene is happening while he's like, by the way, your sister is dead.
Right.
And she's like,
she just looks mad.
How did it happen?
Yeah.
What's wrong with him, though? Oh, my gosh. And then we see the scene at the end where they show Norman Bates in there as his mom with the mom voice, which, by the way, the mom voice I read was the same actress who did the voice of Sally on Dick Van Dyke.
Oh, interesting.
I love Dick Van Dyke. what was her name? Rosemary. But yeah, they close up on Norman Bates' face at the end.
Yeah.
And he tries to make a creepy face, like, up at the camera.
It's
so corny.
It's very corny.
I laughed. And then we see the car getting exhumed for 45 minutes.
Yeah. Okay. I have a couple of things to say.
Okay. Let's do it.
Item number 1 is, this whole time I was like, doing a shot-for-shot remake of a classic film that is, like, heralded as, like, foundational in the genre of horror films is such an ego move that it, like, blew me away that anyone would do that. Like, again, we've talked about the whole premise of our podcast is, like, if you're gonna remake something, it either needs to be better or it needs to include, like, a really different interpretation of it for it to be worthwhile, especially if it's good. Like, if you're remaking something that, like, had a good premise but wasn't executed well, fine. But if you're doing something that was, like, really good in the first place, you better have a very clever take on it for it to be worthwhile. And this was not it. And no. I read a quote that when people asked Gus Van Sant why he was doing a shot-for-shot remake of a, like, well-respected film, his response was, quote, "Why not? It's a marketing scheme. Why does a studio ever remake a film? Because they have this little thing they've forgotten about that they could put in the marketplace and make money from."
I mean, there you go.
There it is. He just.
But I don't think he did.
No. It was huge, big old flop. Okay, so I already ruined the trivia piece about how the costumer thought that it was going to be a period piece, so there was period clothing for the cast randomly thrown in. The other thing that I thought was a funny piece of trivia is Anne Heche was nominated, I think, at the Razzies for Worst Actress for this film, but she lost to the Spice Girls from Spice World.
How dare they? How dare they? I've never even seen Spice World, which is sickening, and I'm sure that's not fair. There was a line from this movie and from the original, because as we know, it's a shot-for-shot remake, besides the Walkman, where he's talking about how his mom goes a little mad sometimes, and he says, "We all go a little mad sometimes, haven't you?" And this was my runner-up for the opening quote, which is how I feel about the movie, which is, yes, sometimes just one time can be enough. Because, wow.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Why? And I don't understand. I don't have any specific trivia, except for that I did read that some of the characters were given, like, very specific direction on staying exactly to the role, and some were given a little bit more freedom.
Yeah, Julianne Moore and Vince Vaughn, I think I read, were kind of, like, allowed to make more different choices than the original, but they both made really bad ones.
Yeah, 100%. And I have to say, Vince Vaughn, I read that he had to, like, reshoot almost, like, the entire first scene, because after, like, shooting it for so long, when they realized with, like, his approach, they were like, oh, he doesn't get this at all.
No, yeah, and they didn't want to embarrass him, so they were like, oh, yeah, there was something I don't like about the keys on the wall behind him during this scene, but they didn't, so they, like, Gus Van Sant used that as an excuse to, like, refilm the entire first scene.
Yeah, I bet when it bombed, they were like, all right, we're going to just tell everyone the truth now. We don't care.
Yeah.
You want the ratings?
Yes.
All right. IMDb gave this a 4.6.
Okay.
Tomato meter on Rotten Tomatoes, 41%.
Okay.
Audience meter, popcorn meter, 28%.
That seems right. Actually, it seems generous to me. Let's see. The lowest rating I've ever given a movie was when I gave the Power Rangers movie a 1. And I think this was worse than the Power Rangers movie.
Yeah.
So are we allowed to give ratings below 1? Or do we think that... So we can give, like, 0.5 or 0?
Number one, it's our podcast. We can do what we want. But, I mean, if you wanted to give a negative rating in the future, I'm not going to hate you for it. So you can do 0.
Interesting. Okay. I'm going to give it a 0.5 because I got to see Viggo Mortensen's butt. Yeah,
that was a bonus. What was my lowest rating so far?
Let's see. You gave a 1.25 to the Power Rangers movie. You've given a couple 2s. But yeah, the 1.75 is your lowest. Or 1.25, sorry.
Yeah, I'll give this a 0.75 just to give room for something worse, basically. Because I appreciate the cast, period. Not what they did in the movie, but I was like, cool to see people I liked on camera. even though weird choices were made. And I like the music, even though it was the same, really.
Yeah. How do you have such
that.
a stacked cast and make such a piece of absolute shit when you had excellent source material? Like, Jesus Christ.
Right. And some of the actors are really talented.
Very talented.
Weird.
Well, listeners, Matt and I have decided that next week we are going to take a turn from horror and revisit a childhood classic for both of us, I think, and for many. And we're doing the Disney animated Aladdin.
A whole new world. Don't you dare close your eyes.
Exactly. In the meantime, Matt, do you want to tell them how they can support our podcast?
Must I? Absolutely. In the meantime, if you would like to support us, the best thing that you could do is to rate us and review us on whatever platform that you're currently listening to us on. Give us 5 stars, say that we're great. It'll take you a few seconds and it'll do a lot of good.
That's right. Also, the best way for other people to find out about a podcast is if somebody tells them. So tell somebody, post about it on Reddit, send up smoke signals, rent one of those planes that flies like a banner over the beach. Just spread the word.
Do what you got to do. Morse code it if you got to.
Yeah.
Also, our social media is RebootyPod on Instagram. You can also email us at rebootypod@gmail.com. We love getting suggestions or feedback about what's going on in our episodes or, in media in general. So message us.
We also have a Patreon, which is patreon.com/nandmatt. You get cool bonus episodes where we do things like review movies and play games. I think our most recent episode was a Would You Rather, and I think we're about to record an episode where we talk about like our top 5 guilty pleasure songs. So you should check that out.
Yes, exactly. And in the meantime, just thank you so much for listening to Rebooty and the Beast.
And we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.